we journey over to Imola. Hello everyone and welcome back to the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. It is time to go racing once again. We are getting all set and ready to go racing around Imola circuit. It is going to be fascinating. It is going to be fun. We seem like we're under a bit of a delay, so we'll keep you up to date with it and we'll let you know how it all goes. But first of all, here's your grid. That is in your picture at the moment. It is going to be Enzo Deligny who took pole position earlier on today. And he'll start alongside Freddie Slater. Remember, in FRECA we do 2 groups format. So that is what the drivers faced earlier on. And the stream is now being set to being in 4 minutes time. So, well, that's 4 minutes extra for me to fill compared to the world feed. How fun is that? On a day where vocal cords will not be doing well, especially after tomorrow. And yeah. I've been trying my best to keep an eye on the Porsche Supercar. Of course, my main focus, my main priority with it being on the main channel has to, of course, be the stuff on the Hungarian Grand Prix weekend. Especially the Porsche Supercar. But well, I've only lost my train of thought due to a funny comment I just saw. But, yeah. The day's been interesting, let's just say. Very interesting, but of course we still give full focus. There we go. That's what I was trying to think of. We still give full attention and full focus while this series is happening, but when it comes to qualifying, can be quite interesting. I've got myself a nice coffee as well for this, because anything to help vocal cords. So we're under a bit of a delay. We just finished GB3, and well, I would have had around, I'd say a 30-minute break. Would anyone like to know the break I got? About 7 minutes. If that even. 6 minutes maybe. Between GB3 and FRECA. I was scared that we weren't actually going to make this race on time. But luckily we are here. We've done it. And all is good. So, will be fascinating to see how this FRECA race goes. We had Italian F4 go racing earlier on, and it turned out that it was quite a dramatic race with safety cars. But we're going to hope that we're not going to have to deal with many safety cars today. We're hoping for some close running between all the different drivers. That will definitely be the aim as they make their way through. So, apparently there's some thunderclouds above Italy. We have now ticked down to the countdown on the World Feed stream, and it indicates to us that we are closer and closer to getting going here in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. Formula 1 qualifying just going on at the moment, so we appreciate anyone who is joining us live. We've all, of course, got our priorities, don't we? We really appreciate anyone who does have this as their watch, even if it's just to the side. It is really, really appreciated. As they will continue on the attack. How is this session going to go, I wonder? Is there going to be any surprises to come our way? That's the question. I'm sure they will all have. Is there anything to give still? Just noticed an issue. Apologies if you think I've not been focusing. Just noticed an issue. That's what's going on. Okay. Great to have your company. Plugs in the chat saying hello. As he always is. As he always is. Plug showing all the support to no matter what stream it might be. here on JB Motorsports. But it is the race about to get underway. No Chris McCarthy this weekend for the World Feed of FRECA. That is because of the fact that we have the Hungarian Grand Prix weekend. So Chris, of course, doing F2, F3 Porsches. And it means that George Morgan is covering, as he always does, in this championship as well, when Chris isn't around. Now, I've waited, but it's perfect timing to go into the news that we've got coming into today. And that is that the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine next year, of course, we already knew that Alpine are parting ways. It wouldn't be by Alpine, but what we do have is the FIA. It's currently FIA certified, this championship. Next year, it will become FIA supported. It'll become the FIA Formula Regional Championship. It'll be FREC. It'll be FREC next year. It's going to be exciting. It will have a new car. I think we'll do a bit of a show on that. Myself and Wes, I'll get him involved, and we'll do a bit of a show analysing that when we actually have time next week. Because, you know, there's nothing going on next week. There's a perfect excuse to actually change that. Right. Cars are making their way out onto the circuit. It's a sunny day. I was mentioning possible thunderstorms, but it's a sunny day out there on the circuit as they all prepare for practice starts. I think in the pit lane they'll be doing the real thing in a few moments' time. The photographers all taking the nice opportunity here to watch the cars come in, slot themselves in, and put their foot to the floor. Now, we're not done after this. We have Italian F4 going on as well, with their second race of the weekend. It's kind of... So we have GB3, they've done their one and only race today. That was at Silverstone. That was delayed. This is now delayed, so delays across this and this circuit and Silverstone. And that's just always the way, isn't it? Always just is the way. As they make their way through. So cars are lining up on the grid. And I think that's a perfect opportunity to throw it down to George Morgan, who will have further analysis as I've just noticed a slight issue, so let's hand it over to him for a moment.
The first half of the weekend, of course, we do have race 2 to come tomorrow, so plenty of positions could be changed up as we enter the fray here at Imola. As we now take a look at the 23, now making his way on the circuit. That is, of course, Enzo Dellini, top of the shop at the end of playing qualifying this morning, and be hoping to see whether he can take it from lights to flag. But there have been some threats, some murmurings of rain as well this weekend. And we have had rain as well, but it was way before this session was due to start. It was expected to be that way, but you never know. Things can change very quickly, and it could yet return. There was some debating as to whether we would start on the wet tyres. Many of the teams, some of the drivers as well, further down the grid, saying we might even just opt for slicks if there are wet conditions in, obviously, foreseeing the potential change-up that we could have seen during the session, going from a wet weather track to a dry track. At the moment, though, the track is declared dry, so no concerns with regards to that. So there will be the dry version of the Pirelli tyre embraced by every single driver and team on the grid for this race in particular. It's going to be a spicy one, to say the least, on the second row as well. You do have Akshay Bora and Pedro Clero. Bora, really impressive, largely, in that second group. Of course, Group B that went out after Group A, and unfortunately wasn't quite fast enough to go higher than his own teammate Enzo Dellini, but it was Dellini's second sector split that really made the difference. Of course, remember, he has been in a bit of a blip as of late. Didn't quite go to plan back at Paul Ricard, and neither did Hungaroring after losing the podium due to an infraction that he had made. So had lost the P3 that he'd managed in SLM, but this is his chance to right the wrong here at Imola, at a track where RSGP have had victories in the past from the likes of Martini Stenshorn back in 2023, and also in terms of actual qualifyings, we did see Martini Stenshorn and Tim Tramnitz actually that same year. It was an RSGP blanket weekend back in 2023, but it's going... It could largely be a different story this time. But Freddie Slater, I'm sure, will be keen to carry on the run that he is on at the moment. Currently on 5 wins. And against the historical stats, he will join Andre Kimi, Stenshorn and GSD. Let's head down to the pit lane, or down to the grid with Laura.
So Freddie, 20 points between you and Matteo De Palo. Are you looking for the 6th win of the season?
Yeah, of course. I'm going to try and win this race if I can. But, you know, it's a long way to go, and to be honest, I don't really care about the championship until Monza, so at this point it's just about getting on with it and trying to win the race, and yeah, we'll see where we end up at the end.
Brilliant stuff there, Freddie Slater, just giving us some insight. Big thank you to Laura as well for getting him just before he goes into race mode. Of course, it won't be too long before they do take the green lights, folks, and we're going to be in for a real treat, I'm sure, where Delaney, as far as Delaney and, of course, Freddie Slater are concerned, 2 very skilled drivers, fast drivers. Slater needs no introduction. Italian F4 champion, of course, last season. Has picked up multiple different titles over the course of time, and after a stellar karting career, of course, has broken every record in the book in Italian F4. But let's head back down to the grid with Laura.
Fastest in the collective testing and pole position for the 2nd time this season. So how do you feel about the race?
Yeah, I feel quite confident. We've had good pace this whole weekend. So there was some rain earlier, so let's see. Hopefully no rain in the race, but yeah, just get a good start and then do our own race.
Thank you.
Big thank you to Laura again, and great to hear from Enzo Delaney as always. Got talking to him earlier on, and he actually did mention that if it was going to rain during the race, it's going to be somewhat of a trip to the casino in terms of it being probably luck will prevail on the day, but it doesn't look like we're going to be faced with anything of the sort as we now take a look at the starting grid ahead of our race here at Imola. It's Enzo Delaney starting on pole position ahead of Freddie Slater. What a type that'll be into Tamburello. Akshay Bora in 3rd with Pedro Clearo, the Brazilian, in 4th place on the 2nd row. We can then head further down into P5. We'll then meet our another championship contender, Matteo De Palo, looking to win in a home weekend for Trident, with Evan Chilter alongside him in 6th place. Jin Nakamura in 7th, alongside Taito Kato for ART in 8th. We then move further down as well to 9th position on the grid. That's when we reach Hiyu Yamakoshi, the Japanese talent for Van Amersfoort, alongside Sandslock's very own Nikita Bedrin. And Dion Gouda lines up as well, the top rookie in the championship, alongside Prema's very own Rashid Al-Dahiri, who'll be looking for a big start. Of course, got plenty of places to make up through the course of this race. Michael Belov, a driver that has made an appearance in every single season since 2021, alongside Ian Eichmans for RPM. Ruiki Lu for Trident, alongside Kanato Lei at ART. And that'll round off the 8th row of the grid for this particular race. We'll move down to P17, where Jack Beaton, looking to find something, is the young man from the Gold Coast. It's been a tough weekend so far. Zachary David looking to lift the spirits of CL Motorsport, also in their home race weekend this time around, with Enzo Yeh down in 19th place, ahead of Edu Robinson, who lines up in 20th spot. In 21st is Tim Gerhards, fresh back from injury, of course, the wrist injury sustained by cycling. Nandavad Biram Bhakti in the Trident alongside him in 22nd. We see Sakir Al-Malshari for Axel GP in 23rd, and the returning Kasper Stuka, who lines up for G4 in 24th. Aditya Kulkarni also from Axel down in 25th. Yaroslav Vasalo for Santaloc down in 26th place. Javier Segrera in 27th for Axel as well, making up that trio, with Eduard Borgner down in 28th place for G4 Racing. We then take a look to the back of the grid, and it's Giovanni Maschio, home race weekend. Of course, we caught up with him. He gave us a guide through the Imola circuit, and he'll be hoping that he can guide himself off the back and further up inside this 29-car classification that we do certainly have. And it's going to be a fantastic race for sure. The final moments now ticking down before we get running here in this race. Of course, now the grid being cleared, the formation lap will then take front and centre. At the head of the order, though, it is Enzo Dellini. He'll be hoping for a big start to this race on the run down towards Tamburello. And like Freddie Slater said in our post-qualifying interview that we had with him, of course, it is a long run down through towards turn 1 where anything can truly happen. And of course, it would be rude not to talk about the big news leading into the weekend as well. On Thursday, many of you might have seen as Slater leaves the line and actually moves ahead of Dellini straight away. So whether that's a message that he's trying to send right from the go, knows that he has to give the place back to Enzo Dellini under the formation lap. But on Thursday, that being the 31st of July, some big news dropped, everybody. All new championships set to commence as of next season, developed in collaboration with Acci Sport and of course the FIA, and it is set to launch in 2026. The FIA will be assuming the roles around sporting, technical and safety activities, and they'll also support the Acci Sport organisation in terms of the overall strategy of the championship as well. Positioned in a key step as well, so it will truly make the Formula Regional European Championship a solidified place in between the Formula 4 and FIA Formula 3 championships, just helping the young talent blossom and grow into becoming stars of the future. And we will, of course, have a new car as well. All will be revealed in that department in the not too distant future, but the name of that car will be the FR Gen 2, also known as the Formula Regional Gen 2. And the new name of the championship, of course, FIA Formula Regional European Championship. A look at the weather. To take us through the rest of the day, we've got 26 degrees in the air right now, 42 degrees in terms of track temperature. Not a lot has changed since we last checked earlier on today, but the humidity has taken a nice sensible position, 61% in terms of humidity at the moment. With the rainfall just coming down, it's allowed the air to thicken up just a little bit, which will of course make things perhaps a little trickier for drivers to follow with, but we'll wait and see as to whether they can find something as they bring the formation up to a close. There's the Trident team hoping for a big weekend on home soil, much like Prema. Plenty of Italian teams in this championship looking to strike a big result. And Trident on home turf back at Misano to open up the season. If we take a short look back at what happened in race 1, it would be Matteo De Paolo, also on home soil for him, taking not only his first win in Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine, but Trident's very first themselves. And what a moment it certainly was. And it's been a landmark year for them, because Rafael Camara, also reigning champion of Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine, could be on the cards to win the F3 crown, the FIA Formula 3 crown this weekend in Budapest. And he'll be hoping to do that, that's for sure. And that will be under the Trident banner as well, who've certainly risen to become the mainstays, or should we say the focal point of the Formula 3 Championship as one of its top teams. And now starting to produce some top-end results this time as well, but certainly Matteo De Paolo flying the flag for them this season. He, of course, has nestled 2 wins so far this campaign and 6 podiums, but currently sits 20 points behind Freddie Slater, who is on win number 5 at the moment with 7 podiums, and joins the club of Alessandro Giusti, Martini Estension, Andrea Kimi Antonelli and Hadrian David, who is actually here this weekend. Hadrian David, he's actually supporting Enzo Dellini and offering some spirited advice and coaching.
He is indeed. Thank you very much, George Morgan. And here we go, everybody. It is time for FRECA to get going. Enzo Dellini on pole, Freddie Slater alongside. Bring this battle on. In Budapest, of course, race 2, if you remember, Enzo Dellini had an issue. And Freddie Slater inherited the win that day. Today, I don't want any of that. Today, I just want pure, flat-out, amazing racing. And I think that's what we're going to get. It's going to be a fascinating fight down towards the Tamburello chicane. We've got a long run down there. Inside line is for the pole sitter. Outside will be for Freddie Slater. They line up on the grid. These are the nervy moments, everybody. We've been, well, stuck behind to some degree. We've had a bit of time of just being stuck here doing nothing due to the delays. Now it's time to put that behind us. Now it's time to get going and enjoy some FRECA racing. They all watch and look down. In the pit lane, we are, well, of course, set to. We had the news earlier on come in. But now, it is time to focus. Okay, 5 red lights. Let's go racing in FRECA. Slow start of the line for Ashke Bora, and it means that it's going to be the lead maintained down towards turn 1. Freddie Slater's been bogged down. Gilter on the grass, round the outside to second place goes Claro. Lead maintained for Enzo Deligny through turn 1, and it's going to be Deligny, then it's Claro. Slater drops down to 3rd position. Can they all make their way through the opening few corners of this one? Claro, having started in 4th, is going for the lead but cannot find an open route. Ashke Bora's dropped to 4th. Can they all make their way by? And it's now going to be off the road in the background for Michael Belov as we throw it down into Toza corner. Deligny, then Claro, then Slater. Gravel gets kicked up and their foot to the floor as the sun sets and beats down on these drivers. An aggressive start to the contest here in FRECA. We make our way through Piratella, and they've all done so cleanly at the moment. They've all done so cleanly. It's going to be very fascinating to see how this is all going to play out, but Claro is pushing Enzo Deligny through these corners. Pedro Claro, the winner in Netherlands, wants to become a winner once again. It's going to be really fascinating to see how it is all going to play out. We arrive down into the Ravazzas at the end of this lap. And then they're going to stand on the power and then see what slipstream you've got down this start-finish straight. That isn't really straight, but once again, we'll have that debate another day. That's a debate for another day. Into turn number 2, of course. That is what the Tamburello chicane is, where wheel-to-wheel Gilter's under pressure from his teammate. That teammates nearly collide and take each other off the road. That was Ashke Bora, and now Yamakoshi's got the momentum. Yamakoshi's got the momentum. Can he take the place? Yeah, he's done it. Gilter drops down. Tata Carter and Gilter both went for it. That was unbelievable stuff. Here we go. Bedrin's got the inside line. He has a look on Gilter. And now, how's this one going to unfold? Oh, contact! Big crash! And off into the barrier at high speed for Yamakoshi. We saw Yamakoshi go on the attack, and there was contact as we went into Piratella. And you just sometimes get moments like that. We will hope that the Japanese driver is okay. More contact in the middle of the pack. And that is going to be a car facing the wrong way. A car facing the wrong way. You've got damage there for Jack Beaton. So Beaton's got damage. And the safety car almost certainly will need to be out after that moment. We will definitely need the safety car. We will hope also, as I've mentioned, that the driver is okay. It was quite chaotic there. I think it was Gilter possibly who made contact on that in that occasion. Gilter's coming to the pit lane. Must have got damage. But wow, was that dramatic. That was dramatic and then some. As they make their way by, the safety car is now out, and I'll hand it over to George Morgan behind the safety car.
The inspection, and it looks like a loose front nose cone there for Evan Gilter, so probably causing largely some... Either it's loose or they're trying to remove it. Maybe there's some other damage that he unfortunately experienced. Let's take a look and see what happened. Ah, this would be the contact. So obviously the front wing making contact with Yamakoshi, essentially taking Yamakoshi into the gravel trap and into the barrier at Piratella. This was the moment for Zachary David and meeting Jack Beaton. And largely the spin had happened before the contact there for Zachary David. And I think Jack Beaton was just unfortunate that the incident had happened in front of him, really had nowhere else to go. It's a very narrow line you take coming up through Acqua Minerale, because of course you need to go as wide as you can on entry through the second half of the sequence of corners you take after going downhill and then straight back up again. So again, more misfortune plaguing the young man from Australia. It's been the story of his season, really, unfortunately for young Jack Beaton. We look back to Hungary, where Of course, he got tied up with the Santa Lock of Nikita Bedrin coming through turn 1, and then later, of course, he had the fire with the car that ended his race. But back again. And the one great thing you can say about Jack Beaton as a young man, he is as positive as they come. Always a smile on the young man's face. And a great talent on his day behind the wheel of a car as well. And all it takes sometimes is one decent result to turn your season around. And certainly if you're the likes of Enzo Dellini, you'll know all about that. Of course, had a baptism of fire of his own last season in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. Eventually the form came in, and now we're seeing the results today. Of course, taking pole position once again for the second time this season. And on top of that, looking to gather yet another victory. Of course, only one against his belt at the moment. Of course, the last win for Enzo Dellini was back at Spa-Francorchamps and in what was a double podium weekend for Enzo Dellini. You'd love one here at Imola as well. And who'd bet against him really after the lap he pulled off in yesterday's qualifying session? The middle sector was truly astonishing. 2.5 tenths gained in the middle sector alone on that last gasp clutch lap from Dellini, and very much throwing himself straight into the equation for race wins this weekend. And to topple Freddie Slater is not easy. And I tell you what, opportunities here for Matteo De Palo as well. With Slater not getting such a great start, it means he will sacrifice more points in this opening race and could potentially help Matteo De Palo going forward for the rest of the weekend. This is the moment again. That's Jules Terre making contact with Hiyu Yamakoshi as the Japanese driver unfortunately went careering into the barrier. Not a nice way to end your first day, certainly of the weekend. I can tell you a red flag has been issued as well. So the drivers will have to return to the pit lane.
Yeah, barrier damage. Had to be a red flag. So we will be patient and we will wait. But we'll let George Morgan fill this red flag for us here in FRECA.
Allows the stewards and also the crew around the circuit, the marshals, to repair the barrier. But fastest lap currently in the pocket of Enzo Dellini. That was done on lap 2. So we still have 23 minutes left of racing, plus the one lap, of course. Then we'll be back underway shortly to finish the rest of that. But as they come down through towards Aqua Minerale, you can just see there just a little bit of tyre warming for Pedro Clero. Really good start for him as well in this race. Obviously, mentioned the Zandvoort blanket that Van Amersfoort managed to produce. It was a fantastic weekend. I say it was a blanket of wins. Obviously, Slater did get the win in the opening round, but it was I do apologise, it was a P2 for Clero in that first race of the weekend. But it was, of course, Pedro Clero's first win this season in race 2. And therefore, it gave the Van Amersfoort team something to really shout and cheer about. They've been knocking on the door. Obviously, we've seen the likes of Brando Badour coming in over the course of time as well. And, he's, gone and since, driven in the FIA Formula 3 Championship, of course, this season. Of course, previously, Kaz Havercourt, a name that many of you will remember, a former driver for the Van Amersfoort team, now, of course, taking to Porsche Super Cup. And Kaz Havercourt, in his time in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine, producing 4 wins and 10 podiums in his history. And currently the highest scoring driver in the history of Van Amersfoort Racing in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. But I'm sure if you're Pedro Clero, you'll be looking to add to the wins tally. Of course, remember, Havercourt part of the championship for quite a number of years. And really, I must say, took the fight to the likes of Dino Beganovic. In the history, of course, Beganovic went on to win the title in his own right back in 2022, representing the Prema team, and has since now found himself in FIA Formula 2. Of course, it was 5th place in the championship for Kaz Havercourt that campaign, just behind Hadrian David, who I mentioned is here this weekend. If you're curious as to who is the second highest in terms of wins tally, Paul Aaron is there alongside Gregoire Saucy as well. But Paul Aaron just outweighing him in terms of number of podiums, in terms of 15 that he's managed to gather. As we now watch as the cars make their way into the pit lane under red flag conditions. But Imola always attracting that little bit of added spice, that little added bit of Italian flavour here in the motorsport calendar, and has done so ever since April 25th, 1953. Over 72 years now, this track has been producing motorsport globally. And this canvas has been met by many a top driver in its time. Of course, during the Acci weekend so far, we do see the Italian GT taken to the circuit. Of course, TCR Italy as well, and the Italian F4 Championship that, of course, many of these drivers have risen from, including last season's champion, Rafał Kamara, and the champion prior to him, Andrea Kimi Antonelli. Of course, once teammates here in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. Who can forget their massive duel that they had back at Monza, at the Temple of Speed, where Kamara did get one up on his own teammate that weekend. But Kamara very much in line for the FIA Formula 3 title. Of course, many of these drivers here will be looking to jump up into that series, much like, of course, well, no question, we will very likely see the likes of Freddie Slater and Matteo De Paolo. Of course, a good ending to your run in the championship will help in terms of your future plans in your career going forward. And certainly the future plans involving Formula Regional as a series, certainly here in Europe, is in for a rampant rise, that's for sure. Well positioned to help produce further young talents for the future. And in this race at the moment, Dellini's the man to catch. The young man who joined the championship last year, if you remember, was a Red Bull Academy driver last season as well. Now since independent, but the results have certainly taken a massive upward stride. If we take a look at last season, of course, Enzo Dellini managing to muster a 12-point finish back at Hockenheim last season. Did actually manage to attract some big points, finishing with 240, well, finishing with 61, only 248 off Rafał Kamara's points total at the end of the 2024 campaign. But if you want to take a look at the numbers now, well, already he's in the 90s, 97, 3 away from a century. So has already well and truly surpassed his points tally from last campaign. And no question, looking for more. Is very close to Pedro Clearo at the moment in terms of the points. And at the moment, only 9 between them. But crucially enough for Dellini, Pedro Clearo sat behind him in terms of what's going on track at the moment. So this could very much be a battle that could determine who will be taking P3 in the championship come the end of play today when the checkered flag rolls out. Of course, for first place, remember, we do follow the typical Formula 1 point system with 25 points going to the winner, 18 points going to second place, which means if it finishes like this, it'll be 7 points in the favour of Enzo Dellini against Pedro Clearo, bringing the gap down some margin. As I said, like 9 points between them prior to this race, leaving just 2 between them. Should it stay like this when the checkered flag comes out? As you can see, the cars currently sat in the pits, just waiting for further instructions. I can tell you that the incident between cars 20 and cars 9 has been noted by race control. So stay tuned to the socials for any updates that may concern the incident, and certainly if any penalties are going to be issued. But at the moment, it's all quiet on track at the moment, but soon they will roar back into action, that's for sure. And just see the marshals there just on side, just offering that little bit of assistance. The team's hard at work and conversing with their drivers as well. Of course, you can imagine Freddie Slater somewhat kicking himself. This would have been a great opportunity to increase the points gap on Matteo De Paolo, with De Paolo currently sat 5th in the classification right now. And maybe an opportunity here for De Paolo to, you'll have to get past, obviously, Akshay Bora. Next on his list then would be Freddie Slater. Now, whether he wants to, or whether he can, bring himself closer to the back of his title rival, we will have to wait and see. But with the one car being sat between them, it does complicate matters a little bit. And certainly Akshay Bora, who has proven he can too nestle in podium finishes, did so back at Zandvoort in race 1. And Paul Ricard last time out in race 2 as well. Generally performed where Enzo Dellini didn't last time. Of course, Dellini did manage to muster in points finishes in both races, but it was 6th in the first race and only 1 in the next. leaving him slightly on the back foot heading into Imola. But we are now into the second half of the season proper, with, after Imola, Red Bull Ring coming next, and we come back from the summer break in September, and then a trip to Barcelona not long after that, with then the last 2 rounds being Hockenheim and Monza, the Temple of Speed, obviously, to bring a close to this season's championship. Race will resume at just under 20 past 5. So at the moment, we're looking at 7 minutes in the pits at the moment under red flag conditions. But we will still have the 23 minutes and 5 plus 1 lap to bring you before the very end. Incidentally, obviously, we alluded to the fact that it is the second pole position achieved by Enzo Dellini himself. He'll join the likes of Alessandro Giusti now, who also took 2 during his time here in the championship. Michael Belov also taking 2 as well in prior times he has raced in the series. Gabriel Bortoleto as well, so that's good company for him as well. Obviously, Bortoleto now since moving on. Of course, it's been a long time since we had him in the championship. I mean, 2022 only feels like yesterday, where, of course, he was fighting with the likes of Gabriel Limini and also Dino Beganovic and Hadrian David as well. Of course, now racing for the Kick Sauber team in Formula 1. And it's been a good time for the Brazilian talent in the single-seater world in motorsports as of late, certainly at the very top. Speaking of Hadrian David, there he is, just walking right in front of shot, actually. Just, of course, looking after Enzo Dellini's affairs at the moment as the 5-minute board is now waved to the drivers. So in about 5 minutes' time, we will be back underway, everybody. Like I said, Hadrian David has been alongside Enzo Dellini, guiding him this season. And no question, his experience has been absolutely vital. A thumbs up there to Enzo. So far, so good, as far as Hadrian David's concerned. And I'm sure that team boss Thibaut is going to be absolutely thrilled with this performance so far from the RSGP team, who, like I said at the top of the show, Martin Stenshorn, names that have come before, obviously a former winner at this track. And incidentally, after Martin Stenshorn and neither prior, we have not had an RSGP winner aside from Martin Stenshorn. He was the first RSGP driver to do so, and currently the only one. If Enzo Dellini wins this, of course, he'll become the only the second driver for RSGP to win here at Imola. Of course, it's largely been a Prema race weekend, and Prema have never actually won in race 2 in Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine here at Imola. Generally, all their results have been in race 1, with them taking victories back in 2021 with David Vidales, Dino Beganovic in 2022, and Rafael Camara last season. Of course, it was Martini Stenshorn that essentially broke the link in the chain. For ART, they've largely had success here too, and all their success has been in race 2 as well, in direct contrast to the Prema team. Gregoire Saucy all the way back in 2021, that eventual champion that season, with Gabriele Bini then following suit afterwards. Meaning 2 wins in 4 races at Imola for ART. And then, of course, Kaz Havikort broke that chain then for Van Amersfoort Racing before Alessandro Giusti managed to lodge in his victory, making it 3 wins for ART here at Imola in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. Just 2 minutes now, or 3 minutes away now, I should say, before we get back underway. Won't be long before we hear the engines roar once more. But very much the same as RSGP, Van Amersfoort, with Pedro Claro currently sat in second. They could be on for their second win here at Imola in the series. So, yeah, quite a race of significance for those 2 teams. If we look at the former records, of course, Dellini, like he said in the grid interview with Laura, fastest in qualifying and has been fast all weekend. We allude back to Collective Test 1, where he managed to lodge the fastest time in collective testing with a 1:39.044, and that was just under 0.4 of a second faster than Nikita Bedrin and Sansalot Racing in second. Akshay Bora, who of course was causing Dellini a little bit of trouble in Group B's qualifying session earlier on this morning. Well, he was 3rd fastest in that CT1 session, but over 0.4 of a second off his teammate Dellini. And Dellini did go 3rd fastest in collective test 2 behind Matteo De Paolo and Freddie Slater, the 2 championship contenders at the moment at the top of the championship. But we've got two very different fights operating inside the top 5 at the moment. Obviously, the championship lead battle between De Paolo and Slater. Slater obviously being 3rd, De Paolo 5th in this classification, and Delaney and Clero fighting over 3rd place in the championship as of now. But they will remain as they are in the championship should they finish like this, with 2 points between them if they take the checkered flag right now, the result standing as it is. But obviously we won't have that. It's 23 minutes remaining. You can add 5 seconds on that, plus another lap, as the 1-minute board gets raised and the car starts to fire up, ready for the restart. The yellow flag being waved as the safety car will get waved back up as well, and then soon we'll get back underway in full green race conditions. But if you're just joining us, obviously we've lost Hiyu Yamakoshi earlier on in the race after a collision with Evan Gilter, who ultimately ended up coming into the pits to have his front wing inspected. And Jack Beaton had to do the same as well, but obviously his incident not necessarily causing the spin for Zachary David. Looked like Zachary David had spun by himself coming out of Acqua Minerale and right into the path of Jack Beaton, who then had to come in for a wing change himself after it broke on the front of the Prema car. So it's now time for the cars to head back out onto the circuit. Delaney will now take the circuit again with Pedro Clero following him out. Freddie Slater down in 3rd place, be hoping for a decent restart in comparison to the start that he had for this particular race. A very rare Freddie Slater mistake, that as well. And it is so rare, just based on his very nature and, of course, the reputation that precedes him. And not only that, the stats that have followed him for this season alone as well. And we're only just into the second half of the championship with 5 wins against Slater's name and 7 podiums as well to add to that number as well. But we also have a flurry of drivers that all share 1 win apiece as well. Pedro Clero being one of those drivers along with Enzo Delaney. Evan Gilter also with 1 win, but it's not going to happen for Gilter this time after coming into the pits. He's got a huge mountain to climb. And dare I say, I don't think 22 minutes is going to necessarily help him, especially under the safety car. But the timer has restarted, folks. And we've now entered onto lap 5 right now, as well as now they come through the Villeneuve chicane. The Alpine safety car now heads through Tosa. And they'll then head uphill, the uphill incline leading through towards the Piratella as well. But conforming to Delta under the yellow flags at this stage. I was alluding to the Brazilian success currently coming through around the realms of single-seater racing at the moment. Obviously, we alluded to Gabriel Bortoleto, Rafael Camara, but obviously Pedro Clero as well. Very much part of that. Obviously, currently sat 2nd at the moment, and you never know, could be on for a 2nd win in his own right as we allude to his battle with Delaney, not just in the championship, but also here and now. And obviously, much like Camara, trying to follow in his footsteps. Currently 3rd in the championship, Pedro Clero, and of course, in total, 3 podiums have been listed against his name, and we obviously spoke about Zandvoort being a massive weekend for him, but also Hungaroring in the first race, where he managed to capture 2nd place just behind Matteo De Paolo, who registered his 2nd win of the season in that particular one. Of course, Matteo De Paolo with 6 podiums against his name, as well as they now come through Variante Alta. Further back, Jin Nakamura also sat ahead of Taito Kato, who we also caught up with over the weekend. And we spoke with him about the prior ART performances around this circuit from the likes of Gregoire Saucy and Gabriele Mini, pulling off some great results, as did Alessandro Giusti. Of course, Taito Kato, a very determined young man, and was largely in the heat of battle with his own teammate Evan Gilter at the start of this race. And then we saw the introduction of Hiyu Yamakoshi, who was looking to take full advantage and eventually did. Unfortunate for Gilter, really. He lost a couple of places and then it very much culminated in the incident then between himself and Yamakoshi out of Piratella. As the yellow flags continue to be waved around the circuit, the driver's just trying to get the temperature up into the tyres, and the track temperature has largely fallen as well. 39.2 degrees, the air temperature settling in at 26, almost similar to what we saw from qualifying earlier on this morning. So that's how conditions are currently met at the moment. As they come down through towards Tamburello, it's the number 55 of Dion Gowda further back, the leading rookie in the championship, the young Brit who is very much enjoying his first season in the Formula Regional European Championship Alpine, and I think could be a major threat, of course, returning next season if he does, of course. If we hear that announcement, keep your eyes on that young man. I think he'll definitely have a promising run next campaign. Only 17 years of age, British Indian, and began his motorsport age 9 in Singapore, as well as we get confirmation from race control that the safety car will be in this lap, so we can get back to high-speed action. But yeah, it's Dion Gowda with a great opportunity to rise himself through the ranks. Already a race winner in British F4 with Rodin Carlin, and of course took part in Italian F4 last season with Prema, with 2 podiums there, also taking part in Euro 4, but taking the step up now to Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine this campaign with Van Amersfoort Racing. Just looking to build on these early foundations and already capturing some fantastic points finishes as well. But let's wait and see whether he can deliver the goods this time. Currently sat in the points at the moment, 9th place just behind Akita Bedrin. And still leading rookie here and now, Ian Eichmans, who of course joined the championship back at Hungary. Currently sat P2 in the rookies and P12 overall. And really impressed on his opening weekend back at Budapest. But remember, of course, that earlier test session was done on the new tyres that were given to him, because of course it was his first weekend in Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. But still, you've got to be able to put the car there in the first place. As they now descend downhill.
It is time to go racing here in FRECA once again. The red flag's over, the green flags fly, and we are go down towards the Tamburello chicane. It is going to be Enzo Deligny leading the way. Pedro Claro under some pressure there, because Freddie Slater is tucked in behind and chasing him down towards turn 2. Aldahari's getting close as well. Into the braking zone we go. Single file stuff for the moment. Who goes for some overtakes? I think an RPM car was looking for it around the outside. The single file still for the moment. They all will make it work, but it's Deligny being chased down by Claro at the moment. 16 minutes and 20 seconds to go on the clock. Game on for the race win. Di Paolo on the back of Ashke Bora as well. It is dramatic out there. It is chaotic. Down to Piratella we go. It's been quite the day for me. Someone burnt poppytum downstairs, so the whole house was smelling of burn. So it means that, you know, it's been quite the day, let's just say. Quite sad. And then we had the red flag. Red flag on red flag. I finished my coffee completely doing the red flag, but now full eyes on this. Full focus on this. Because you've got some great drivers in contention. And we've got a great driver at the front trying to take the race lead. Could we be about to go wheel to wheel? Could Slater get a run as well? Here we go. Slater's giving himself an opportunity. He is tucked up behind Pedro Claro. Meanwhile, Matteo Di Paolo is coming under threat. Slater can't get through. Neither in the background can the driver of Jin Nakamura, who's attacking Matteo Di Paolo. This is frenetic. This is interesting. As they continue the motor race. Side by side into Villeneuve. And very nearly around the outside. That's how dramatic it's getting. Into Toza corner. Aldaheri possibly losing out. In the background there. Drew Piratella. Rapid part of the circuit. Now into braking zone. Into the braking zone. Let's make sure that some tensed is used. So Claro looks like a driver who is maintaining the gap. He's trying to get closer to Ligny, but it looks like Claro will be the driver coming under threat from Slater. It looks like that will be the battle that we will be looking for. Down towards Ravazza corner. Slater rotates the car, turns in. Here is Nikita Bedrin as well going for. Right, let's see whether Slater gets the run. Freddie Slater, the driver in third position, but for how much longer? Because he's tucked up behind. Pedro Claro, the two who battled for the win earlier this year in the Netherlands, are doing battle for second place. If Slater wants to win this race, this is a vital overtake to make, and he can't make it. Into Tamburello, he still is stuck in behind, and he will look to wait and see. Where an opportunity comes, the British driver has been in this position so many times, where he's having to balance things out as he tries to get to the win in Primus home race. RSGP who have won here around the circuit plenty of times. Looking to do so once again. Tata Carter's in the mix. He had a great battle earlier in the contest with Evan Gilterra's teammate, who now is, well, right at the back. Black and white flag for Freddie Slater. P3 man on the attack. And the driver now with the black and white flag. That's critical. Critical stuff. So Slater's got the warning flag. I wonder why that is. Is that due to track limits, I wonder? Could definitely be the case that we could see Slater being given a penalty. And if that is to be the case, then that brings Matteo Di Paolo very much in championship contention, as he will be finishing ahead. We'll keep an eye and update you. Yeah, it was track limits. There we go. So Slater being warned, and once that came out, I saw him run wide track Minerali, so he's got to be careful, or this could be a penalty coming his way. For now, he's just focused on overtaking the Van Amersfoort car that's ahead, and he can't do it at the moment. He cannot overtake. They are sprayed all over the road. And Slater doing his best to try and make this overtake, which right now is not coming his way. It's not happening for him at the moment. But it's still 11 minutes, so he's got to bide his time. But at the same time, it's hard to overtake around this place. So sometimes it's just about sending it and going for it. An important thing to judge. As they make their way by. It's a second out in front. Slater's getting the chance to bring the gap to 1.5. It's Bora in fourth at the moment. And then Di Paolo, the Italian driver who of course brilliantly won on home soil earlier this year in the race that we had at Misano World Circuit. Quite the dominant drive to start the season, where his championship rival Freddie Slater of course had that retirement. So Di Paolo looking to remain in championship contention. And if there is a penalty that comes Slater's way, he'll definitely be interested to capitalise and take points away from his rival. keep an eye whether a penalty is noted. Penalties given. Javier Segura has been... the incident turn 9 for him is noted. So that's going on for him. Lock up. Lock up for Claro. And every single second, every single meter that Slater sees, Claro struggling, it gives him momentum. It gives him a chance to go and attack. What a fascinating FRECA race it's been so far. We've got to get FRECA out as many times in a broadcast from now on, because next year it will be called FREC. But FRECA sounds amazing, doesn't it? But, you know, the racing will still be good, but it's just that thing, FREC. We won't be able to call it FRECA anymore. I can already tell you that I'm going to make the mistake a few times of calling it FRECA next year. I think the world feed will be as well. It will depend who's the commentator for it. It's still ACI Sport doing it, so could just be that McCarthy and Morgan do exactly what they do, but it could also be the time maybe that Chris McCarthy decides to step away, because he can only do a few rounds this year anyway. So as the championship moves over to Gen 2, might be a good idea to step away if he feels like that he can't commit full time to the season. It's a good idea to just give it to George, which it's, well, gonna be fascinating. Or, you know, Chris will also probably, he's done a lot for this championship, so he'll probably want to experience the, maybe even do an Alex Jakes and just do 1 year of the new regulations to see how it goes. And that's not just that, see how it goes, if it's good then I'll stay. It's more like, you want to experience 1 year of the new regulations as well. After doing so much, just end it on a high with a new car, which will throw spanners into the works 100%. But it's 7 minutes and 30 seconds plus 1 lap, of course, that we have here in FRECA. Slater running out wide. They're all in formation. No one able to go for any overtakes. We, of course, have an Italian F4 race that will be taking place after this later on today. Sure, that will be delayed. With all of the delays that we've had, remember this race should have been over by now, and I should have been heading to a break. Fortunately, hasn't worked that way. Hasn't worked that way, unfortunately. So, let's see how this one's gonna go. Can Aldeheri try go for a move? The number 14 tucked up behind Dion Gauda. And this is going to be a battle for 9th position in the contest. Gauda defends. Aldeheri tries to sell the dummy and send it up the inside. Fastest lap now belongs to P3, Freddie Slater. And Slater's tucked up. He's really close. Can he send it? Is there a chance for Freddie Slater to send a move? He has a look. Has a look, does Freddie Slater. Doesn't elect to go for it though at the moment, but you can see that after setting the fastest lap, he is desperate. On lap number 10, Ashke Bora was 45 thousandths quicker. Lap 11, he was a 10th quicker. Lap 12, he was 4 tenths slower. That tells you how much Slater turned it up on lap 12 to go on the attack. That's exactly what he's done. Out of the corner, foot to the floor again. Into the Variante Alta. How much do you dare go over the curb? But it can sometimes just spin you out as well. You don't want to go over it too much. It can really unsettle your momentum, like it did for Charles Leclerc in the 2022 race, if you remember, around this circuit. Round the final corner. That's a good exit. That's a good exit for Freddie Slater. It's exactly what the British driver needs. He's been stuck behind Pedro Clara for so long. Is this now the moment for Freddie Slater to make the move and take second place in the contest? The defensive shape is thrown by Pedro Claro, and Freddie Slater coming and charging round the outside, squeezes Claro into the braking zone, and Freddie Slater goes on by and takes second place now into the Tamburello chicane. It was much more deeper on the brakes, and Freddie Slater gets his reward and takes the place, and now Claro has to worry about Ashke Bora, who sends one up the inside into Villeneuve. They make it work. The yellow flags are out. Further back, and now Claro covers the inside. Bora goes round the outside. I think it's Altaheri who's off. Altaheri's had the moment. Oh, he's in the wall. He's into the barrier. And a big moment there while Bora is being squeezed down to Piratella. Claro versus Bora. Bora's got the inside. Bora's got the place. And he gets past. What a fabulous fight. A big move for Slater, a big move for Bora. Claro drops from second to fourth. The safety car's out. Aldaheri's out of the car. That is the most important thing, as he's found the barrier. What happened here? He was wheel to wheel with Peugeot. Peugeot goes out deep, hits the curb, goes into Aldaheri, who has a one-way ticket into the barrier. Safety car's out. Let's head to George Morgan in the world feed.
Did the number on the Prema car. So that's two Prema drivers now involved in separate incidents. Obviously, Jack Beaton being the first, and Rashid Aldaheri here and now with 3 minutes and 20 to go. And this looks like it could yet finish under the safety car, but we'll wait and see, obviously, folks, what race control determine. But we'll take a look at this now. And obviously, Pedro Claro, who had the walls of defence up for such a long time through the course of this race, had managed to deflect two separate moments alone prior, where he kept Freddie Slater behind, but that was all undone over the last lap as Slater cruised through, and I must say, majestically, plenty of respect given between the two drivers. There was plenty of circuit there for them both to play with, but Slater was just looking to confirm the P2, and he certainly did that. Great effort as well from Pedro Claro, who was ultimately usurped by Akshay Bora on the run-up out of Tosa and in towards the Piratella, and definitely all smiles down at RACE GP, that's for sure. But they said it was hard to overtake here at Imola. It certainly is, but you can pick your moments. And Slater, as we said, after speaking to him, he said it was a long run down through towards the first corner, and it certainly is that. But Slater proved that it is certainly long enough to allow him to move through into the mainstay podium places. Holding on to second now, a lot better than the way it was before, and we will go back to racing. Safety car in this lap, so it's not over just yet. Here's what led to that safety car. Rashid Aldaheri meeting Ian Eichmans. Eichmans taking the wrong line, really committing too much onto the curb and then back onto the track. Meeting Rashid Aldaheri, eventually guiding him into the barrier. And that was the end of play for Rashid Aldaheri. We'll take no further part here in race one. But I'm sure they'll get to work and get the car ready for race two tomorrow afternoon. And, of course, ready for qualifying first and foremost as well. Of course, we do have another session of qualifying to bring you in the morning.
We do indeed. So you can watch that and you can catch that on the official FRECA channel. We'll be back for the race, bringing you live coverage of that. For now, though, let's sit back, relax and enjoy. It's a 2-lap sprint in FRECA to crown a race winner. Which way is it going to go? Will it go to Deligny? Will it go to Slater? Will it go to Ashke Bora or Pedro Claro? Or is it all going to go wild and somehow Matteo Di Paolo gets himself into winning place? We've got 2 laps to sort out this order. Freddie Slater made a critical move, and now he will get his reward because he will not have to sit in third. He's now in second. He's now the one behind Enzo Deligny, and he's got a great opportunity when Enzo Deligny puts his foot down, and we are about to go back to green flag racing conditions. Deligny takes the wide line, stands on the power. A bit of a twitch there for Freddie Slater. Round the last turn, we are green once again in FRECA, and Enzo Deligny immediately comes over to the left-hand side to try and break the slipstream. We are now racing for a 2-lap sprint across the line. The green flags are out. Who's going to be attempting a move? Down into Tamburello. I think Bedrin's coming under some threat. Slater gets close. He'll have to try to set the move up for next lap. He has to stay closer on this lap if he wants to give himself a chance to win this race. Slater's going to leave it all till the end. Is there anyone else who can try and attack and pass? So many question marks. Through the chicane. Into the braking zone. This is great attacking driving. What about Matteo Di Paolo? Can Matteo Di Paolo get past Pedro Claro as well? Can Claro do himself some favours by getting some extra points, I wonder? We're through the middle sector. About to push, about to attack on to the final lap of this race. Is there a run? Does Slater have the chance? A man who's won so many times this season wants to win again. Through the Variante Alta chicane. It's 0.4 of a second. This could be a wild last lap. But it all depends on the exit that Slater gets. Does he give himself the momentum? Into the Ravazza. Closes in under braking. It might have to be a Hail Mary from here. I don't think. Depends on the exit. It's not the best exit that he could have got. We are across the line. This is the last lap of race 1 at Imola in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. Slater's not close enough for the move. And I don't think anyone is until we get to Ekimans, who's trying to get past Dion Gouda. Ekimans thinking about it as he tries to get past the Dutch team. We've got the RSGP team at the front, with the Prema team behind. Bora trying to make it an RSGP 1-2. But it looks like, unless there's any errors, unless there's any mistakes, this could be the order that they finish in. Down to Piratella. Deligny knows that this chance looks like it's going his way. It looks like he's finally about to get himself to the win. And Enzo Deligny, who won at Spa, about to win once again. It's gonna feel special for him, as he will bring it into the final few corners of this circuit. And he will prepare for the winning moment. He will prepare to become a winner for the second time here in FRECA. He navigates his way through the Varazzas. Slater gave it his all on the restart, but it will not be enough. It will go to the weaving Enzo Deligny, who comes across the line to win at Imola. Freddie Slater's in second, and Ashke Bora puts 2 RSGP cars on the podium. Drag race to the line, and Ekimans is very close there to Gouda, and he very nearly takes the rookie win away from Gouda. There's been a moment. Yellow flags are out for Jin Nakamura. Jin Nakamura is dropping down, but the day belongs to Deligny. He has done the job brilliantly. We'll catch up in a moment what happened there to Jin Nakamura. If I am correct, there was a drag race to the line between Gouda and Ekimans for the rookie win. And Gouda just takes it. Wow. What a fight. What a finish. And it's Freddie Slater with a bit of homework to do heading into tomorrow's race. Wow. We'll see whether we get a replay or whether we see where Jin Nakamura stopped or had his moment, because the yellow flags were immediately waving. But Deligny takes a second win after his win in Spa earlier on. Okay, here's your results. Deligny ends as the winner, Slater in second, Bora in third, then Claro, Di Paolo, Carto, Bedrin, Gouda, Ekimans and Canatoli. In 11th, it's Belov. In 12th, it's Rui Hengier. Then it's Edu Robinson, Stuka, Liu, Gilter, Biran Bakhti, Giovanni Maschia, Kulkarni, and Gerhard. Third page sees Vesilaho, Al-Masheri, Beaton, who had contact early in the race, then Borna, Jin Nakamura, who slowed down near the end, or had a moment we're still yet to work out, then it was Segura, and Alder Harry as well. And that's it. All we've got to bring you does not look like we're heading to... Does not look like we're heading to see what happened to Jin Nakamura. We will hope that everything's okay for the RHGP driver. But yeah, it doesn't appear like that we're going to be seeing the moment that happened for Jin Nakamura. Out of the car we go! And to the top step. Wait for it. Wait for it. There we go. Celebrations. Jumping up the car. Jumping up the car? Jumping out of the car. I think his performance was definitely better than my grammar skills today, everybody. What a drive. What a performance. Congratulations. Congratulations indeed to Enzo Deligny. There's Ashke Bora to congratulate his teammate. And it'll be double celebrations for RHGP. Well, we are unsure what's happened to Jin Nakamura, but if there is any information, we will definitely keep you up to date with it in Italian F4 if we do find out any other news. But what we can say is congratulations to Enzo Deligny. And that was quite a tense race from lights out to checkered flag. Well, that is it. A brilliant race. And we're not done yet here at Imola. We have Italian F4 coming up. So make sure you join us in about an hour and a half time for when we go racing in the Italian F4 Championship. Goodbye.